Hi guys, welcome back to Codemaster Coach, your medical coding tutor. Today we are on part 3 of our ICD-10-CM 2018 coding updates. And remember, we're starting from the beginning. So hopefully by now you've viewed part 1 of our coding guidelines, part 2 of the coding guidelines, and you've gone back and done your homework and viewed videos 1 through 19 on the channel, Codemaster Coach. So, continuing today, let me show you where we are in our coding guidelines. We were talking about the level of detail in coding. Okay, we're at number 2, level of detail in coding. And it says, diagnoses codes are to be used and reported at their highest number of characters available. ICD-10-CM diagnosis codes are composed of codes with 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 characters. Codes with 3 characters are included in ICD-10-CM as the heading of a category of codes that may be further subdivided by the use of 4th and or 5th character and or 6th characters, which provide greater detail. And a 3-digit code or character code is to be used only if it is not further subdivided. A code is invalid if it has not been coded to the full number of characters required for that code, including the 7th character if applicable. So let me show you a rule that I put together, a sheet that I put together to study for this. And it just says, assign codes to the highest level of detail. How do you do that? 1, you assign a 3-character disease code only if it is not further subdivided or further divided. Assign a 4th character code only when there are no 5-character codes within that subcategory. Number 3, assign a 5-character code only when there are no 6-character codes for that subcategory. And number 4 says assign a 6-character code only when a 6-character subclassification is provided. And number 5, assign a 7th character value when provided. All characters must be used. None can be omitted and none can be added. The one exception to this rule is the placeholder of a character X. For codes less than 6 characters that require a 7th character, a placeholder of X should be assigned for all characters less than 6, and then that 7th character must always be the 7th character of a code. And guys, I struggled with that one for a while because I was like, okay, if this is the 7th character, what do I do with all of the space in between? And it's telling you put an X in place of it, okay? So let me give you some examples of how we could do this. Let's look and pull out your code books. Let's look at code J40. So again, I'm in my ICD-10-CM. I'm going to my tabular and I'm going to look up J40. And notice that code, let me get some light on here. J40 is just that. J40 says bronchitis, not specified as acute or chronic. But notice that's all to code J40 because it goes down to J41, but J40 stands alone. It's a 3-character code. So again, as this says, for J40, there is no 4th character to assign. Okay? No 4th digit. Now looking at K35. Let's look at K35. K35 says acute appendicitis, but notice it expands to K35.2, acute appendicitis with generalized peritonitis. So it expands to K35.2 or K35.3 or K35.8. But notice K35.2 is just that, a 4-digit code. K35.3 is just that, a 4-digit code. So K35 expands only to the 4th digit. So you're okay with those. You can stop them at less than 7 digits. And then J45.2. Let's look up HIJ45. J45.2 expands to J45.20, J45.21, and J45.22. So see how it goes to the 5th digit. And even my little red box says it's got a 5th, a 5, and a TH. So it lets you know that code, J45.2, expands to the 5th digit. So you can't stop at J45.2. You have to expand it to the 5th digit, J45.20. But yet it's saying at J45.9, it expands to the 6th digit. You see that? So let's look at J45.9. J45.9, again, there's a note here that tells me it expands to the 5th. But when I get to the 5th, J45.90, it says it expands to the 6th. So sure enough, J45.901 and 902 and 909. So see how it's expanding? Okay. And then one more note on here that says, looking at code, T27 expands to the 7th digit. And I'm telling you, look at T27.0. So let's look in our code books and go back here to T27. T27, burns and corrosion of respiratory tract. And I've got a note here that says goes to the 4th digit. So where it expands at the top of the next page, T27.0. But notice I've got a note there, you guys, that it says it expands to the 7th. See 7th in that box? Well, T27.0 is only what? 4 digits. And I've got a red box here that says the appropriate 7th character is to be added to each code from category T27. Well, if my T27.0 is only 4 digits and I have to have 5, I'm going to have to put X's. So see how this is T27.0 XX and then A. I had to use my placeholder X to make that code expand to 7 digits because that code requires 7 digits to appropriately code it. So see that? It tells me I need 7 digits, and T27.0 is only 4. So I need to put XX and then add my 7th digit. So that's where your placeholder comes in. Okay? So going back to our rules again, our coding guidelines, where it told us to be as precise as we could with our level of detail of coding. When it expands, our codes have to expand to meet them. Going down to number 3 says code or codes from A00.0 through T88.9 and then Z00 through Z99.8. And notice that gap. A through T are diagnoses, and then there are no U codes, QRST-U. There are no U codes. U has been omitted. And then V through W, X, and Y are external cause codes, which we'll get into at a later date. But those codes are there, but they're used for the external cause. And then Z00 through Z99.8 says the appropriate code or codes from A00.0 through T88.9 and then Z00 through Z99.8 must be used to identify diagnoses, symptoms, conditions, problems, complaints, or other reasons for the encounter or visit. And let me just touch on signs and symptoms. Let me let you know that if I had to ask you about a sign or a symptom, it says codes that describe symptoms and signs as opposed to diagnoses are acceptable for reporting purposes when a related definitive diagnosis has not been established or confirmed by the provider. Chapter 18 of ICD-10-CM, Symptoms, Signs, and Abnormal Clinical and Laboratory Findings Not Elsewhere Classified, contain many but not all codes for symptoms. So that we're going to talk about that a little further when we get to that area where we talked about signs and symptoms. But let me give you a hint. The way that I can remember the difference between signs and symptoms, when you go to your doctor and your doctor talks about what's going on with the patient, and he tends to say, he'll ask you, well, what's going on? What kind of problems are you having today? And if I say, well, I've been having a headache, I'm a little dizzy, all of these are my symptoms that I'm giving him, right? So the patient perspective, I'm giving you my symptoms, but to a physician, those are signs of a disease process. So that's how I can remember. That's my way of remembering the difference between a sign and a symptom. A symptom is to the patient what a sign is to the physician. A symptom to the patient is something that they're experiencing or they're feeling. And based on those symptoms that the patient's experiencing, ding, 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 they're signs to the physician of what possible disease process could be going on. Okay? And so until a definitive diagnosis has been determined, then all we can code are signs and symptoms. So we're going to stop there with part 3 because I need this stuff to sink in. I need you to understand when a code stops at 3 digits, 4 digits, 5 digits, 6 digits, or 7, and how to make those codes expand to 7 digits if necessary with your placeholder X. And then I also need you to understand the difference between a sign and a symptom. In the comments below, tell me what a sign or a symptom is to you. How can you break up the difference between a sign and a symptom so that you too understand or better understand the disease process so that we can more accurately code them? Okay, guys, go back and practice with those examples that I gave you of 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 digit codes, and then start thinking about signs and symptoms. We're going to be moving on very shortly into part 4 where we talk about the integral part of a disease process. Like when a patient comes in with their symptoms, again, which I said are signs to the physician, and then based on your symptoms, do you code the disease process, or do you code the sign, or do you code the symptom? Hopefully I've totally confused you and we can move forward from here. Take your time, go back and view my videos on my channel to help this stuff make sense. We've talked about videos 1 through 19. If you have not yet viewed them, go ahead and view them. Go back and review parts 1 and 2 of these coding guidelines. Thanks, guys. I will see you in the next one.